how was the law of attraction established? Is that worthy of conversation?
Well, of course it was established long before we identified it with a label.
Yes.
And it's about vibrational frequencies matching up. And your background must help you to understand that to some degree.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
The tuning of anything, tuning forks will begin to respond to one another because of frequencies. Mm-hmm. And in your electrical understanding, in other words, vibration is, there is a law, no matter what you call it, at the basis of it. Let's go back to the question that you began with earlier today, because it's really the most comfortable way of explaining this, where you're wanting to know who is thinking the first thought, where did it begin? And our answer, while somewhat unsatisfying, is that once we are all so far out on this leading edge of thought, the beginning of thought is completely unsatisfying. Even the theoretical beginning of thought is unsatisfying, because we just don't have the capacity from where we now are to even examine the beginning of anything. But it goes something like this. Everything that exists, first let's start at another place. There is no thought that is really new. There are thoughts that are newly discovered. There are thoughts that are newly rendezvoused with. There are thoughts that in their new combinations become something more. But the basis of everything that exists still exists. In other words, every thought that was ever thought still exists.
Is it fair to say that everything is thought?
Everything is thought, in the sense that everything is vibration, or everything is energy.
And thought is vibration.
But every thought that was ever thought, and this is really the answer to your question, and the satisfying key point, and first time we've ever said this, summation of all of this. Every thought that has ever been thought still exists, but it does not exist in its original form, because it cannot.
It's a tuning fork. It resonates
because every thought that exists now has a vibrational frequency that is coming together with other thoughts that are like it, and is being compared by other thoughts that are opposite it. So the thought, just like the creator, is knowing what it wants, knowing what it doesn't want. Every thought has at its basis the presence of wanted and unwanted. Every thought. And so theoretically, it is easy and accurate to surmise that if we want to go back to something that we call a beginning thought, it existed in its presence and absence. And the combination of those two things caused it to become more. Does that make sense to you in some way? And then law of attraction just goes from there. But it is ever so much more satisfying to finally let go of needing to know what was before. In fact, science and medicine and all things would move forward into satisfaction, which is the only reason that forward matters at all. Forward into satisfaction much more quickly if fewer people would be looking back, if more people could be present. And that really is what this conversation brings satisfyingly forward for all of us. We relish the idea of more of our physical friends grasping the concept that all that you've been and all that everyone you know who loves you is forward in this moment with you, chiming in, inspiring, approving, including, part of your moment. And that if you are wise enough to tend to the frequency of your being by not finding fault, by not feeling lack, by reaching for the best feeling thought that you can find as consistently and as often as you can, that you will find yourself tuned to the frequency of so much help. It's that leverage that we've been talking about for all these years. There is a leverage in alignment that you just don't have access to without it.